looks like Real Madrid are trying to strengthen our midfield. We knew that heading into this summer window, the defense was the priority and the club operated with urgency, right? We've brought in Trent, we've signed Dean Huijsen, and we've basically wrapped up the deal for Alvaro Carreras. And now it looks like their focus is going to go into the middle of the team. Now there's two players that are being linked with a move, and it's being reported that the club want both of them, not just one. We're talking about Angelo Stiller, the midfielder from Stuttgart, and then we're also talking about Nico Paz from Como. So we got to get into these reports and talk about how both of these midfielders would fit into our team. But I need you guys to get into that comment section. Let me know what you think about both these players and if you think we should sign them. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications. Now, according to reports, they're saying that Real Madrid want to shake up the transfer market this summer. After signing Trent, Dean Huijsen, and Alvaro Carreras, the next names on the list are Angelo Stiller and Nico Paz. Now, Florentino Perez is moving like a madman so far. Like, the window hasn't even officially opened up, but there's a potential for us to have 5 new players heading into that Club World Cup. And Xabi Alonso is being backed fully. And because of how the club are operating this summer, I have very high expectations for Xabi Alonso's first season. But we had to respond. Last season, we were shit. Barcelona beat us in all 4 El Clasicos, 2 of them being in cup finals. We watched them win the domestic treble. We got embarrassed against Arsenal in the UCL, dominated in the quarterfinals. We left this season going 0 for 3 with the final 3 trophies at the end, and it's just not good enough. The club were going to respond. I told people this, and everybody said that we were broke. Everybody said that we don't have money to spend. Everybody called us free transfer FC. Get in the comment section and speak now, because we're not moving like we're broke. We're not moving like free transfer FC. Florentino Perez is back in his bag. Don't forget who the greatest president in sports history is. Now, as far as the midfield is concerned, it wasn't a high priority in my opinion. But last summer, after Toni Kroos retired and we didn't replace him, I told the chat way back then that that was a massive mistake, because that profile of midfielder we don't have. And it looks like we're trying to address that now. And Angelo Stiller is that profile, whereas Nico Paz is not. So I want to talk about Stiller first, because they're saying that Xabi Alonso made it clear to Real Madrid that he wants a controller for his midfield. The club believes Stuttgart's Angelo Stiller perfectly fits that idea. And I agree. Angelo Stiller checks all the boxes that we need. Again, we don't need just any kind of midfielder. We need a very specific profile. We need a deep line playmaker. We need somebody that's going to be able to sit deep and play amazing passes into our runners. How many times this season have we seen players making runs and nobody was there to find them? When Toni Kroos was there, if you made a run, he was going to find you. And our midfield this season, we struggled with controlling games, because even though we have very good players in that midfield, right? The main 3 that started was Jude, Valverde, Tchouaméni. All very good players. But on the ball is not their strong suit. Passing is not their strong suit. So we got 3 workhorses in that midfield, but none of them can really control the game. That's why Luka Modric and Dani Ceballos were so important. Now, a guy like Angelo Stiller, if he comes into this team, he's personally recommended by Toni Kroos as well. And he's not going to cost a lot. They're saying that you can buy him for 40 million euros. That's not a lot of money. Now, my first choice for the deep line playmaker role would be Enzo Fernandez, because when the reports first came out that Madrid wanted a midfielder, they talked about a Galactico. They talked about wanting to spend 100 million on a player. So that to me was Enzo Fernandez. But for the money that it would cost, maybe it's not worth it. And Angelo Stiller can do the same job. And you can use the rest of that money to maybe do something else surprising in the transfer market. So I'm all in on Angelo Stiller. He fits the profile that we need. When I looked at his comps and when I looked at his stats and the passing numbers, that's exactly what we missed last season. You see how Barcelona, right? They have Pedri. Pedri is playing the ball from deep, right? He's kind of, and let's be honest, Pedri would be the perfect Toni Kroos replacement. But he's at Barcelona, so it's not a possibility for us to sign him. Unless Perez can do a madness with a Luis Figo 2.0. But we all know that's not going to happen. So we got to go out there and look in the market. I told you guys, if we're not going to sign a deep line playmaker, then I don't want us to sign anybody. I've seen the reports about a potential Zubamendi hijack. We don't need a Zubamendi. I don't need a number 6. Zubamendi isn't better than Camavinga. He's not better than Tchouaméni. Angelo Stiller, he's a profile that we don't have. That makes him very valuable. And I remember when we played Stuttgart earlier this season at the Bernabeu, it was the first game of the UCL. They cooked us. We ended up winning, but they were the better team. And I remember thinking to myself, why do we look so shit? Like, I didn't even really pay attention to any of their players. But from what I've seen from Angelo Stiller, the guy looks like a baller. And for anybody that's going to get in the comment section and talk about his looks, talk about his nose, because I've had people try and banter me about us signing a player that looks a little bit funny. Why do you care? If you're a man that likes football, and if your first concern is how a player looks, I think you have to look in the mirror and answer some questions that maybe have gone unanswered, because this is not a modeling agency. This is not a cast for movies. This is a football club. Is Angelo Stiller a baller? Does he help our midfield? We got Mbappe making these runs, Vinicius, Jude, all these guys that are going to be making runs. You need somebody to find them. Go get me Angelo Stiller. Absolute baller. Now, the other midfielder that we want to bring in is Nico Paz. Now, Nico is not a deep line playmaker. And I'm on record saying I don't want any midfielder that's not that profile. But Nico Paz is a very different situation. This guy is from our academy. Everybody says that Real Madrid's academy doesn't produce ballers. Well, you're looking at a baller right here. Voted as the best young player in Serie A last season in his debut season at Como. Absolutely cooked underneath Cesc Fabregas. Now, Nico Paz is more of a 10. Can also play as a center forward, like a false 9. And he can also play as an 8 in center mid. Now, I wonder if the club view him as the Luka Modric replacement. Let's not forget, what did the report say? The club told Luka Modric that the reason we're not going to extend him is because we want to usher in a younger era at Real Madrid. Nico Paz, I think, has earned himself a move back to Real Madrid. One of the best players in Italy last season, and our buyback clause is only 8 million euros. So you're telling me that I can sign Angelo Stiller and Nico Paz for around 50 million. Nico Paz in the open market is worth like 50 to 40 M's, in between that range. Absolute baller, sky high potential. And I am a bit hesitant on him coming, right? Angelo Stiller, I think, needs to be the priority out of these two midfielders because of his profile. But again, the club want both. Now, what makes me nervous is, are we going to end up messing Nico Paz's development? Like, are we going to ruin that? Because at Como, he's getting playing time. He's starting games every single week. He's one of the main focal points of the team. And when I look at the position that he plays, at Real Madrid, we have Arda Güler, we have Brahim Diaz, we have Jude that can all run in the 10. Now, I'm not sure what Xabi Alonso is going to do formation-wise. And if we end up doing the 3-4-2-1, where you're going to have 2 10s, then I can understand why he's coming back. Because you're going to need rotational help. There's going to be a lot of games next season. Players will get injured. And at the same time, right, Xabi Alonso is going to give young players a chance. Carlo Ancelotti did not really play the youth like that. That was one of the main issues that people had, was because we're hearing about all these good players in our academy, but Carlo Ancelotti is not using them in the first team, even throughout an injury crisis. And Real Madrid's academy has good players. Why do you think we are the most successful academy in the world when it comes to making money? There's players that can do a job there. Nico Paz is a great example. Hakimi at PSG is another great example. Right? You also got Asensio, who got an opportunity this season. And now, look at him. One of the best young center backs. Got called up for the Spain national team. Has forced his way into the 11. But I do wonder how we plan on using Nico Paz. I'm thinking that the club view him as a Modric replacement. But maybe Xabi Alonso sees Jude playing deeper and Nico Paz being more advanced. Who knows? But we all saw last season when he got his handful of opportunities. He cooked. I remember when he got brought on against Napoli, scored a screamer in that game. Everybody knew that there was a player there. He's went to Como, right? Impressed. Got called up by the Argentinian national team. He deserves a move back to Real Madrid. It just depends on how the club are going to use him. I don't think that we're going to call him back and then end up wasting his potential. Right? Xabi Alonso sees this guy as somebody that he can mold into a very good player. Very technical, can link play, good creator, has a good shot on him as well. And again, even though I don't think we need his profile, I'm definitely not against us bringing back one of our own. I think Xabi Alonso is going to revolutionize Real Madrid in terms of he's going to be known as that manager that gave kids from the youth team an opportunity. Don't be surprised if next season you're seeing players from the academy start some games. You're seeing them come off the bench. I'm telling you, the midfield is going to be sorted next season. I also think guys like Dani Ceballos, Brahim Diaz, etc., they might be leaving the club, which does open up room for a Nico Paz, for an Angelo Stiller. Because again, last season was not good enough. So we do have to shake some things up. And Xabi Alonso is being backed heavily. He must deliver 2 trophies minimum in his first season. He has to. Look at how the club are going hard for him. They're making sure that they give him all the tools to succeed. Nico Paz, Angelo Stiller for around 50 million. Let's do it. Florentino Perez is back. He took last season very personal. The rest of Europe is in trouble. But let me know what you guys think about Angelo Stiller and Nico Paz. Would these players benefit us, or do you think other players should be the target? Again, if you're going to bring up in the comment section about Angelo Stiller and his looks, and if you're a man, you're under suspect watch, okay? Big up to the LGBTQIA XZY community, but I don't care what a man looks like. I just care if he can help me win some damn trophies, because I'm not trying to repeat what we saw last season. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those post notifications. Holla Madrid!